Hello, everyone. I'm Ted Barker, and welcome to today's episode of Blarred Take. With me today is Chantel Taylor. Chantel is an inspiring book author, and she's also a motivational speaker. Today's episode will be about transformations. Chantel, what I would like to do is start off with a little fun, a little word game. I'm going to ask you a question, and you just basically just respond with whatever comes to your mind. Faith.
Trust.
Okay. Life.
Live more abundance. Live in abundance.
Okay. The world.
Wow. The world. Blessed. I don't know.
Okay. Patience.
Is a virtue.
Okay. Belief.
To walk by faith.
Great. Okay. I just like to start off with a little bit of just getting out there things that are important in our everyday life, things that matter and have significance in the world today. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what's brought you to this point that you want to share with the world and share with everyone the process of transformation that you've been through.
Absolutely. Well, my transformation came from me living a lifestyle of homosexuality. I sold drugs. I partied a lot, and I did a lot of drinking and smoking. For homosexuality, I lived a lifestyle for 13 years. And in 2012, I surrendered my life to God. God delivered me from homosexuality, from smoking, clubbing, partying, just the whole lifestyle that I was accustomed to living in. And I feel as if people need to know that change is possible. And
Absolutely.
with God, He can do anything. So
Yes.
I need my story to be a blessing to someone else to know that you're not born homosexual. You're not born to be gay, or it's possible to change. So that's what I'm looking to captivate my audience with my book, in reference to helping somebody know that change is very possible, and I want to be someone to help the next person to know that you can change for the better.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. At what point in time in your life, around how old were you when you noticed changes in what you've just revealed?
18. I was 18.
Okay.
That's when I got in first relationship with a woman.
Okay. Was it while you were in high school or after high school?
It was during my high school years, but I had dropped out, so
Okay.
it was during the high school time, but I wasn't at that time going to high school.
Okay. Did you ever see this coming?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Like, there were times where I dealt with guys like middle school, high school, but I never do. I grew up accustomed to acting like a guy, so to speak. I played basketball, football. I hung with the guys, so it was something that was probably going to happen, but I never thought that I would ever be attracted to another woman.
Okay. Was there something that was in your life that you felt was missing during that time where you went in that direction unexpectedly?
Not at all. It was just something that, honestly, it was just something that happened. I was working on a job and I seen a woman. I'm like, she's pretty, and it just transpired from that. So it wasn't nothing that I ever expected to, encounter.
Okay. there are a lot of times where we, on a day-to-day basis, we see attractive people and we compliment them, whether it's verbally, out loud, or whether it's in our minds. Um, you complimenting, another woman is natural,
Right.
To most people, and most people wouldn't see anything wrong with that. But upon doing so, what happened after that led you down the path that you've told us?
Attraction. It was little things like flirting, laughing together, and it just turned into a feeling like I like her. And from that point, it was, it grew, gradually grew. And I'm like, at that point, I was like, I don't want a man, I want her. So.
Did you feel that this person gave you something that, from your experience with men, that they did not give you?
I think it was more of me just being around men my whole life. So I felt more like I was a guy. So I wasn't really attracted to men at all. It was just like I like women. So I think it had a lot to do with me just growing up around men my whole life, and mentally made me feel like I'm a guy too.
Okay. At that point, how did you feel as far as the acceptance of what you had now ventured out into?
At that point, I didn't care. I was scared to let people know that, I was attracted to another woman. I kept it boxed in for a while. But eventually, it started to show. I started bringing her around, and it was just like, that's who I am. So at some point in time, it was like, I didn't care what anybody else thought, because that's just what I wanted, and that's who I wanted to be with. So.
Now, was it something that you primarily kept to yourself, or at what point in time did you let friends know or family? Because that's pretty tough to keep a secret
Right.
for a period of time.
Right.
We do have friends, and from that standpoint, it could be easy to, get over on people as far as the extent of the relationship. But at what point did you realize, okay, this is becoming serious?
Right.
People are going to start wondering and questioning because I'm maybe spending a lot of time with the person.
Right.
At what point did you feel like, okay, I have to let people know, or did you decide to just keep it to yourself?
Not at all. Actually, it's kind of ironic how it happened. I was on the phone with her, and somebody was listening to our conversation, and they mentioned it to me days after, like, are you, attracted to another woman? I'm like, no, why would you say that? So they start, basically letting me know how they knew. And at that point, I was like, it's out. So, I just ran with it. Like, I felt like if that wouldn't have took place, I felt like I probably wouldn't have been able, or would have prolonged me letting everyone know about me being attracted to a woman. But at that point, it was like, okay, it's open, it's out now. So that's when I told her, like, we, basically got caught on the phone, so I could bring you around now. And that's just basically how it transpired.
Did you feel exempt? Did you feel relieved?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I felt very much so relieved, because as I was saying previously, I felt like if I wouldn't have, God works in mysterious ways. If
Yes,
everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
So from that person listening to my conversation, that was my outlet. So I wouldn't have, without that happening, I wouldn't have been able, there's no telling how long I would have went trying to hide it.
Okay.
So with that situation taking place, it was my outlet. Like, I'm free now. I could let everyone know, and it didn't matter at that point what anybody else thought, because that's what I wanted, and that's who I wanted to be with.
Okay, so from there, where did everything take off and transpire to?
Well, to me, other relationships with women, like I said, I was 18 years old, so I was at that point. I was already, in the streets. I had criminal charges, so my life at that time was, basically getting started, but in the wrong direction. So that relationship led to other relationship with women, partying, selling drugs, criminal records. So it was just the start of my, my life, so to speak, but in the wrong direction. Okay. I come to find out.
Do you feel, as far as the selling drugs, the lifestyle, the partying, did you feel that was all stemming from the choices that you initially made, as far as revealing your sexuality to yourself and to others and your family?
Absolutely not. I know without a shadow of a doubt it was because of what I had been accustomed to. I had been around drug dealers, okay, people counting money, people getting shot, people fighting a lot. So my mindset was, when I grow up, that's what I want to do.
Okay.
So when I met her, I was already selling drugs. That was just another realm of, who I was or who I wanted to be at that time. So I was already accustomed to, I already grew up with the mindset like, oh, I want to sell drugs, I want to smoke weed, I want to drink alcohol. So that was already, going on when I met her.
So this was something that you embraced. You
Absolutely.
Felt like this was
the life.
The life.
Right.
Did you feel like it was the life that others were leading, or did you feel like it was the life that you wanted to live?
At that point, it was the life I wanted to live.
Okay.
I wanted to live that life and experience it.
Was there anyone that felt like where you were going and the direction that you were going in and what you were experiencing at the time, was there anyone that felt like reaching out to you, or felt like you were not going in the direction that you should?
At that point in time, yes, it was. It was my high school basketball coach.
Okay.
At that point in time. But I was just so, I guess you could say, rebellious. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. I didn't realize how important the things he was instilling in me was until later on in life. So
what was it that your coach told you?
My coach was my inspiration. He told me I could play basketball. I can be in the WNBA. He went beyond measures to get me focused, and he seen my potential. He seen things I could do. I had letters from Division I basketball teams.
You could actually play, because I've seen some footage of you.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you were a pretty good player.
I mean, it was just, at that point in time, he was doing all he could to help me. But it was just, my mindset was, I wanted to do what I wanted to do. I didn't care. I wanted to run the streets. Okay. So at that point in time, it was my high school basketball coach.
Okay. Stepping out there into the world as a young woman, did you feel like at any point in time or question your identity, or did you just primarily accept it and you just ran with it?
Well, I always knew that I'm a female, but at the same time, my mindset, I live as I'm a dude, I'm a guy, I'm a man. So I never let that, get to me as far as, oh, I want to get a sex change, or, I want to cut my hair. I always knew, and it's so ironic because living that lifestyle, it was certain things that I think back now and realize that was leading up to this point, but I didn't see it then. So it's like I knew who I was, but I wanted to be someone else.
Okay. How long did the life go on? Did you ever feel like stopping at some point in time and discontinuing the life that you were living? Or was there some type of intervention, things that may have happened that you at that point in time questioned, am I doing the right things? Am I making the right choices? Am I with the right people? What was it that made you question at any point that maybe what you were doing was not the life that you should be living?
Nothing at all. Actually, okay. I was loving the life I was living. Like,
What about it? What about the life? Tell me about the life altogether. What from you being with someone that you obviously cared about, that you
Right,
saw something in that you didn't see in other people, or men.
right,
Um, the drugs.
right,
I know that money is usually the root behind that, as far
right,
as having money and easy money at that.
right.
Tell me about that life, as far as the experiences that you had.
Well, like you said, the money is what, basically had me feeling like everything I want. I felt like money was my happiness. As long as I had money, I was happy. Selling drugs, I had so much power and respect on the streets. I felt like not living that life wouldn't be who I am. But 2 years ago, I was loving the life I was living, clubbing, partying, being with women. But up until 2 years ago, I always went to church. I always went to church. I
Okay.
always went to church, regardless to what. If I leave the club Saturday night, Sunday, I'm going to church.
Okay.
I paid my tithes. I feared God my whole life. I always
Okay.
feared God. But up until 2 years ago, I went to church, and I would always go to church, you know, drugs in my pocket, leaving ready to go smoke a blunt.
Okay.
But this particular service, I had an encounter with God.
Okay.
I would often go to the altar and get prayed for, but this particular Sunday I didn't leave the same. I cried continuously. I couldn't stop crying. And I heard the Lord say, "It's your time."
Right.
I heard the Lord say, "It's your time." So I said, "God, I surrender." Up until that point, sometimes I would think about it and say, I wonder how people would treat me if I changed my life. I always cared about what other people would think about me.
So for 13 years, you had established a certain lifestyle. You had established many relationships, with people in general.
Right.
Whether they were from your preference in women, or whether they were other people that sold drugs. You had developed this lifestyle and this relationship. How did you feel about all of that just going away in just a short matter of time?
I didn't care.
Okay.
I felt the moment I made up in my mind to surrender to the call of God, nothing else mattered.
Had you ever felt the need to stop doing what you were doing anytime during those 13 years?
Absolutely not.
So you were just a freight train just going?
Going, absolutely.
Okay.
I was having fun. Like in the midst of, my sin, or quote unquote living that lifestyle, I had fun. For better terminology, I balled out, like they would say. So, I mean, it was nothing I could ever imagine. I never ever imagined, my life being changed. But one thing for certain is my mom, she always spoke into my life. She always spoke into my life. She always say, you gonna get a husband one day. You're gonna have kids. And I'm like,
Right.
I would always brush it off like, I don't want to hear that. And sure enough,
Okay.
my time is here.
What was revealed to you specifically that day? Did you feel regret or remorse for what you had done? Did you feel that you needed to go and explain to everyone, people that were maybe in the dope game, people that were associated with your life and who you were at the point in time? Did you feel that you had to give anyone an explanation of what you are now wanting to do with your life? And if so, how did you approach those people and really the lifestyle itself? Because typically when people sell drugs, they just don't get out immediately.
Right.
There are people that have a hierarchy,
Right.
that they report to, the whole social scene of it.
Right.
And then, of course, with people who had knew you that built relationships.
Right.
How did you feel and go about having to break everything off that you had created?
Well, I didn't feel the need to explain to anyone. But there were times where people would still call my phone and ask, where are you? I need this, I need that. And I would tell them then at that point, like, I don't do that anymore.
So you just flat out just
Stop.
just
Absolutely.
cold turkey.
When I left church that day in 2012, at that point in time in my life, I was living in a hotel room, selling drugs at the hotel room. I left church. I got rid of my gun, got rid of my scales, all my drugs. I left. The next day, I called my mom. She was in the hospital at the time, waiting for a heart transplant. And I told her how God had saved me. I said, I want to leave. And I spoke to God that night. I prayed. I said, God, if this is you, because I wasn't certain, but I know what I heard. I said, if this is you, show me a sign. And sure enough, at the time, I had a warrant, and one of the employees from the hotel came and said, the police came looking for you this morning. But I told them, you haven't been here in 2 months. So I was like, God, thank you. That's my sign. So I left that day.
Okay.
That was August 2012. So I left. I didn't feel the need to explain because I was my own person. I never, was in debt with anyone. I never sold anything for anyone. I was my own quote unquote drug dealer. So I didn't need, if people call and ask, what's going on, I would explain to them at that point in time because I needed them to know that I'm not that same person who I was 2 days ago or 3 days ago or a year ago.
So you were pretty deep into this if you didn't owe anyone any explanation nor the product itself.
Right.
So you were, on average, what were you making on a weekly basis, monthly basis selling drugs?
I would say I was making close to $4,800 a week.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of money to most people who you just simply can do what you want to and not have to clock in for 9 to 5.
Right.
Okay. And once you left the hotel, where did your life take you from there?
My life, it was a complete turnaround. Things immediately started to change because it was a fire. It was something that was, in me to do better. Okay. It was a feeling I had never experienced before. I told my mom, I want to go buy me some girl clothes. I want to get my hair done. I want to get, I want to learn how to wear heels. It was just a whole different environment for me that I had never experienced, but I was so anxious and, excited to know this new woman, that I had inside me all that time that I never knew.
So at that point, there were never relationships that you had built trying to pull you back? Because typically relationships are hard to break off.
Right.
People usually just don't walk away from them easily without some type of controversy or some type of maybe guilt.
Right.
Or something that questions, well, hey, can I still change but hold on to this person or get this person to change? How did the people in your life, even though you pretty much had decided to do what you wanted to do, what was best for you, still relationships aren't always the easiest just to cut people off. So how did you go about doing that?
I'm glad you asked. It's amazing because the relationships that I were in with women, to this day, they support me.
Wow. I
always kept that in the back of my mind. If I change, how would they treat me? Would they, ridicule me? Say we knew you wasn't really a stud. That's what they call, the dominant woman.
Sure.
In a homosexual lifestyle. But they support me. I talk to them on a daily basis. They send me messages. Let's go shopping. Let's go get heels. It's like a feeling because it's overwhelming because I never could imagine that the support that I have from my family, my friends, my ex-girlfriends, we're best friends, all of us. So even people that, drug dealers that I know, they text me or call me sometimes, send me a picture. I want people to know, how you look now. People don't believe me. Sometimes I go to my old neighborhood just so they could see what God has done to me and,
Absolutely.
Be a blessing to them visually so they could see themselves, this not who used to sell us drugs. This is
Correct.
So I mean, I get so much support. So
In hindsight, do you feel, looking back, that in today's society, that a lot of people are missing things in their life, that they go in other directions, maybe seeking it, or maybe come across people from an emotional standpoint that offers them that something that they didn't have, but yet they weren't necessarily looking for it either?
I feel as though that's very possible. It's nothing that I ever dealt with. I was never molested or.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel as though it's very possible. People go through things. Some people grow up to be a product of their environment or whatever the case may be. But regardless to what, it doesn't matter. One time I was incarcerated and a lady, she told me, she was like, I don't think I ever, she was living that lifestyle. She said
Okay.
to me, I don't think I could ever change because I've been through too much. And I said, but you know what I've been through? Somebody I knew personally. You know who I was. You know who I was. So if God could change me, he could change you. It doesn't matter your circumstance, situation. It doesn't matter
Absolutely.
what you're going through. God is that so much God that he can turn your situation totally around. So
Great. And since that whole transformation process, where has your life come to now? Where is Chantel at this point in time in her life from a mental standpoint? Looking back, looking at your present, but also looking at your future.
right. At this point, mentally, it's just so much I want to do. Like all the energy I use selling drugs, being negative, I use it now towards positivity, being positive. I pray every night and I say, God, help me to be a blessing to someone else
Right.
in any way that I can be, whether it's, physically, monetary wise, just speaking a word. Mentally, my mindset is like, help somebody else.
Sure.
Help somebody else. And it's so much I want to do. I want to write a book. I want to write books, plural. I want to travel, all over sharing my story because I want people to know all over that anything is possible. If you just believe, things will happen. Things will turn around in your
Yes.
situation. So
Yes.
mentally, I'm just on, very excited about the things that I'm, anticipating on doing, with my support team, people around me. They elevate me. They prepare me to just, go higher. They see my potential. So it's like, if they see it, I can see it, So
Right.
I'm at a point right now. It's just like, I want to do so much. And, I just thank God for giving me the mindset to know,
Sure.
to know the things that I can do and the places I can be.
Absolutely. The people that were a part of your past that are still a part of your present, have any of those people seen what you've accomplished and look at what you've done and maybe change their lifestyles as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Majority of my ex-girlfriends, actually, some of them are married with children, living a spiritual lifestyle. I mean, living spiritually, to serve God. Some of them, just have kids, but they're no longer living the homosexual lifestyle. And some of them actually, still live the lifestyle. But I don't judge them. They don't judge me. But I pray for them, because
Absolutely.
and that's why. And it's so ironic because I never changed my phone number.
Okay.
The same number I have now is the same number I had when I sold drugs. Because I want people to know, out the blue, sometimes I still get phone calls.
Wow.
Sometimes I get phone calls and they say
2 years later.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. And they ask me, you doing all right? You still a Christian lady? Send me a picture. And I talk to them because I want them to know, everything, you can do more than what's going on in the streets or more than what you do on an everyday basis. So yeah, a lot of my relationships, some of them are still living the lifestyle, but majority of them have changed their life, not based upon my life, but they have moved on and living spiritual lives with husbands and children.
Okay. So a little bit about your writing. What message are you trying to put out now? Obviously, you've had great success in your transformations. What do you want people to know about you now? Maybe where they're at. What would you like to share with people in your messages, in your speaking engagements, and in the upcoming books that you're writing? What would you like to share to people?
I would like to share with people that things that you've done, things that you do, I've done. I've been there. I have pictures, I have stories, I have, a background. It's things, I want people to know that there's nothing that God cannot do for you.
Absolutely.
I need them to know it's God.
Yes.
Some people think money makes you happy.
Mm-hmm.
I had so much money, it's ridiculous. Money. But
Right.
I was missing something. I still wasn't happy. So from my book, it's like no matter what you've done, no matter what you've been through, whether it's drugs, molestation, rape, whatever you've gone through or you may be going through, I need you to know that anything is possible,
Right.
with God. Because these are things I wasn't planning on changing. This wasn't, a goal that I set.
Right.
This is something that just happened.
Right.
So when God has a purpose and plan, no matter how long you run, He gonna catch you.
Right.
So my book is basically gonna be based upon, all things are possible.
Absolutely.
So that's what I
Right.
want people to, get that message from reading my book.
Right.
After reading it, I can do better. I will do better.
Right.
I shall do better. So that's my,
Okay. So for people out there that are looking for a role model, that are afraid to open up and maybe reveal their sexuality, maybe want to change from, selling drugs, whatever the case might be, what's the number one thing above all else you would tell them now?
make the choice.
Okay.
The choice is yours. It starts with a decision.
Okay.
Me surrendering first led up to who I am now.
Okay.
I told God yes. So if you make the choice, everything else will come as God will have it to be in your life.
Absolutely. Okay.
You have to make the choice.
Okay. So for people that are wanting that change, needing that change, desire that change, how can they reach out to you?
Well, I'm always on social media.
Okay.
Twitter, Facebook.
How can they reach you on Facebook? What are you on Twitter?
On Twitter, my account is at Chantel_T. Facebook is Chantel Taylor.
Okay.
And right now, those are the only two social media sites that I'm on, so but they can always reach me on Facebook at all times. Send me a message, whatever the case may be. Sometimes people I don't even know inbox me like, I heard your story, I seen your pictures, I know your testimony, can you help me? And I help them as much as I can, and people are blessed by, it's so amazing that how many people that I've touched, people I never known, I never met, that I touched with my story. So that's the purpose, of my book to go. I want my book to go abroad, people all over, not just social media, not just Facebook, not just people I know, from the streets or people that I met recently, people that I don't know, I want them to know and understand that, I'm available. And
Yes.
I'm willing to, be a blessing to you in any way that I can. If you want to talk, we'll talk. I had some lady one day tell me, I saved her life. She called me
Wow.
3:00 in the morning. Well, she didn't call me. She texted me Facebook. It was Christmas Eve, 2012, matter of fact. And she was like, I saved her life. She didn't expect for me, to respond back to her, but I did.
Okay.
So she told me I saved her from committing suicide, and that was just a blessing. I couldn't do anything but cry because, I never expected these type of, dimensions or, things to take place just from little old me, my story.
Right.
So, I'm excited. You know,
Well,
I love to be a blessing to others.
Absolutely. I'm excited for you. Okay. Well, Chantel, I appreciate you being on my show today.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you.
No problem.
I look forward to your story having a huge impact on others' lives and what people are actually experiencing and going through in today's society. There's a lot of pressure out there for a lot of people
Right.
to do the right thing, and unfortunately, there's a lot going on in the world that causes people to do a lot of the wrong things.
Right.
But I truly believe that your story is an inspiration to others, and it will make a huge difference in a lot of individuals' lives. And I wish you continued success.
Thank you.
I look forward to reading your book, autographed copy.
Absolutely.
And we'll be seeing you soon.
Absolutely.
All
And
right.
I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on this show.
It's my pleasure.
I'm honored. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Look, right, okay.
That was great.
Was it?
That was good.